You have to write dialogue in a rhythmic way because human speech is rhythmic. And if you listen to people having a conversation, what they're doing is they're creating a rhythmic poetry. They're filling in the pauses and capping each other's speech and so forth in a way which is rhythmic. And Shakespeare, who's our, I think somebody said that English is the only language in which our prime writer is a dramatist. So it's Shakespeare, the greatest poet of the English language. And he wrote an iambic pentameter because that's the rhythm of everyday English speech. W.C. Handy also wrote an iambic pentameter because that's the rhythm of everyday English speech. I hate to see the evening sun go down is iambic pentameter. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I is iambic pentameter. I'll see you Sunday if it doesn't rain, that's iambic pentameter. That's the rhythm of natural English speech, and Shakespeare raised it to the greatest of art forms. I mean, I talked to my friend, Rabbi Finley, and he says, when he sees a couple and he says, okay, tell me what the problem is, he says he can almost tune it out. He can tell just by the rhythm what they're saying to each other, right? And we can too, because if you think about it, you see a couple, two businessmen, two businesswomen, a couple, blah, 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 across the restaurant, you can't hear what they're saying, but you know what they're talking about, right? Because you can tell from the rhythm, how they cap each other, how they come on top of each other, how they cut each other off. And so if you can write that such that, if you can write it, the actors know it, and they love it, because it's natural, because they don't have to fight against the current of a clunky line. So the lines come out of their mouths naturally, and they're grateful for it, and so I'm grateful to them. The old joke is, one guy says to another, why does a Jew always answer a question with a question? The answer is, well, what should a Jew answer a question with? The question is, why do people speak in real life? They speak to get something from each other. It might seem like they speak to express themselves, but as I understand it, that's not true. They only express themselves to get something from one another. Right? It might be something legitimate, right? Or it might be something illegitimate, but they only speak to get something. So similarly, on stage, they only speak to get something. So the question is, what does each person want? Then we know why they're speaking, then we know what they want to say. For example, one person might say to another, what floor do you want? Or they might say, I want to go to bed with you until the cows come home. And the two things might mean exactly the same thing, right? But there's a way to say it, right? So what the person's saying is not, I need to know what floor you're going to, right? Or what floor do you want might mean, I've seen you before and there's something about you I don't like. You don't know what it means, right? But they don't speak to get or to give information. They speak to get a result. Bad dialogue. Well, what's bad dialogue? If it don't work, right? If the point has already been made, or if the person is not speaking to get something from the other person, it's bad dialogue. If in addition it can be beautiful and rhythmic, if it can be interesting, and who knows where it comes from. I wrote this novel, I just finished, I think I told you, called Chicago, a novel of Prohibition. And this guy is talking to this old madam who's kind of his preceptor, right? His philosophical preceptor. And they've just killed his girlfriend. And he says, I got to take revenge, he says, because I got to do it, but I can't do it now because I know the proverb, revenge is a dish best eaten cold. And she says, honey, revenge is like lobster, it's good hot or cold. And I don't know where the hell that line came down, but I just wrote it down. I started screaming with laughter. You know, it's not like I invented it. It's like, you know, I discovered it. So that's the thrill of writing dialogue. And I guess I've written some bad dialogue. The trick is to go through and take it out. The other thing about dialogue is some people have that gift, some people don't. But do you need to be able to write dialogue in order to write a play? The answer is no. How do we know? Because we do plays in translation. You know, most people in America don't speak Russian, yet we understand Chekhov. We appreciate Chekhov's plays. How do we know you don't have to do dialogue? We watch movies with subtitles, right? Or we watch movies that have been dubbed. So if one can write dialogue, that's a plus. But you don't need it to hold the audience's attention. You watch Green Bay, right? I could study for a trillion years. I wouldn't be able to handle the ball like Aaron Rodgers. You know, to a certain extent, everybody can learn a little bit of passing a football, but to a certain extent, you have to have a gift, right? Now, can you get by without the gift? Yeah. Are you going to be the quarterback for Green Bay? Probably not. You know, you got to take the hand you were dealt. Like there's he was a Russian theater director, and he kind of discovered Chekhov, and he worked in Moscow, founded the Moscow Art Theater, about 1895, I think. And some kid, he invented this thing called the Stanislavski system. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about, but he might have. And some kid comes to him and says, Konstantin Stanislavski, he says, I lack the gifts of so-and-so over there. What am I going to do? I don't have those particular gifts. And Stanislavski said, well, he said, okay. He says, have you got a girlfriend? The guy said, yes, I do. He said, okay, you've got a girlfriend. Now he says, do you have a male friend who's richer or better looking than you are? The guy said, yeah, I think so. He said, well, then obviously he should be going out with your girlfriend. So what's the point? The kid has a right to his girlfriend. He's got a right to his life, whatever his talents are. And that's what I would say to the writers. Write it down, see what you come up with. Are you going to hate it? Yeah. Are you sometimes going to love it? And yeah. And then are you going to hate yourself for feeling so self-confident and doubt yourself? Yeah. Welcome to my world.